Welcome to the Reality After Show, covering the Challenge USA Season 2, Episode 13, the penultimate episode, Johnny's favorite type of episode. I am your host, Alex Trias, known challenge expert, obviously, according to many people, just fair play. But I'm also here with my other challenge expert, Dan Montchal. Dan, how are you doing?
Well, Johnny was throwing around experts for us, which, it was a nice title for us. And when it was just being said on the Reality After Show, that's great. But we have upgraded. If you have heard his newest interview on the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast with Johnny Bananas, it's also said on that podcast, too, that we're challenge experts. So at this point, it's official. Kick out the MTV podcast. We're in.
We're in. We're official, baby. And, speaking on that, he was obviously on Bananas podcast for House of Villains. And Johnny's going to be having a lot of watch parties for House of Villains and Survivor 45. You can find all of that information at survivortix.com. That's survivortix.com or villaintix.com, villaintix.com. Dan, do you know any of his upcoming events?
I know this upcoming week he is in Boston, Massachusetts. And let's see, for Survivor on Wednesday, it's Brett LaBelle, it's Learsa, and there's a few others, a few special guests. Hint, they may or may not be on this cast of Survivor. And then the following night, he is going to be with Jax in Boston as well. The week after that, he's going to be in Clearwater. I don't know the Survivor guests. There definitely will be some there, but I know it's going to be Jackson Bananas in Clearwater the following night for House of Villains. The week after that, it's 2 shows in Charlotte, and that's all that I can remember for his schedule. I think it's Chicago, but then he's got Miami, Cincinnati. There's a Durham Survivor watch party. So Johnny's going all over the country covering Survivor 45 and House of Villains on back-to-back nights. And if you haven't seen House of Villains, come on, you listen to this podcast, you obviously support Jonny Fairplay. Go check it out. And then afterwards, make sure to check out the podcast that we did on Friday with Corinne from House of Villains. It's great. And, I'm not going to badmouth any of the other reality TV podcasts that are out there. But if you're enjoying the show, you should always check in each week with Johnny because he's going to have someone from the cast on to talk about the podcast. And just from episode 1, we got a ton of stories and things that we didn't see. So why not listen to, people that were there to discuss the show? It's great. It's phenomenal. We're not here to talk about House of Villains, but check it out.
Yeah, check it out. And we'll always be here covering the challenge. It was an odd week. I had some life stuff I had to deal with on Friday, some friend events that I needed to attend. So we are here now to talk about the penultimate episode of Challenge USA Season 2. And we start the episode.
I was going to say, it really is for the best that we had delayed because you had a wedding and everything going on. So I did go up to Johnny's for House of Villains on Thursday night, which I thought, hey, I'm driving 2 hours away. Like, I'm a good person. Like, what a friend. No, Tommy Traina drives down from Philly. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm not that great. But Tommy Traina, challenge superfan, fan of the podcast. But so we're driving back, and the schedule at the time for Friday was we were going to do originally House of Villains at 10, the challenge at noon. And so when I got back at 2 o'clock in the morning, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have time to watch the episode. So I watched it at 2 o'clock in the morning, passed out at 3, slept for a few hours. So this break was great because I got to rewatch the episode and be like, okay, this is actually what happened.
Yeah, no, I watched the episode Friday morning, getting ready for the podcast. Obviously, things roll how they do. I got to rewatch it again this morning before #doing the work. So I just came back, pumped up, and ready to talk about this episode. And boy, what an episode to cover. It has officially become the Josh episode.
Which you made the prediction last week. You said you thought it was going to be Fessy and Josh in elimination. And I was like, I could see it happening, but how it starts off with the first thing you get is really Fessy and Josh talking about how they're boys. I was like, well, Alex nailed it. That's exactly what we're getting.
Not just that, you're like being half here, Mr. Predictions. We were both the same for the guys for the most part, but you were so confident that Cassidy was going to win that last elimination. You did get the pairing right. But I told you, I was like, that's not her story this season. Her story is going to be cut short. I don't like that. I don't like being right because I thought Cassidy was a great addition to the Challenge franchise. I could see her coming back. I like her heart in it. But she does re-enter the house. She's 3-0 in elimination. And like she's starting to get a little more props from the other women, and they're like she's battle tested now. So whatever happens with this final challenge, if she's going down there again, it's not a guarantee that she's an easy slam dunk for the field.
No, she's not an easy in elimination win, obviously winning 3 in a row. And I mean, if you look at it, you're right. This wasn't the story that we've been getting all season. But of the 5 women that are left, she's probably the person we've got the most on screen. Maybe it's Tori that you've seen a lot, but I think, especially lately, we've seen way more Cassidy than any of the other 5 women.
And like part of that obviously is you have to tell the story of the people that are going to go into elimination. So like her and Chris's edit from the back half of the season have been dominantly about them because they're the ones against the world, essentially. They're out on an island, play to get in type of thing. But, you know, I loved her in this. I'm sad to see her go. I'm very happy to see her return whenever she does. But this moves us over to what you were talking about. We see Josh, Fessel, and Corey talking, and they're like, we just need to win this one. We win this, and we're in. We're in. It'll be Chris going in. We'll just vote in bananas because he's the champion. None of us have won. So worst comes to worst, we lose the champion and we guarantee a new guy winner. Or we can finally get Chris out the door. But this is where like we start to get more focus on Josh and Josh's motivation to playing. And I know a lot of people have thoughts about the constant crying, the overly emotional version of Josh. I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with him constantly talking about how he wants to do this for his parents because they have always supported him and like he doesn't care about the money for himself. He wants the money for them. He wants to support them financially. And guess what, people, for everyone who's saying like, but you won Big Brother, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, remove taxes from all of it. That money can go very quickly if you're trying to support people by giving them a house, giving them whatever. And you know what? Who cares? What's wrong with getting more money for your family?
No, you nail on the head. That's what I was going to say. Is it goes quick. I mean, this isn't like, oh, feel bad for Josh. But I mean, you think about it, and it's the producers are asking him the question, what's your motivation? And for a lot of people out there, you know, that's what's their motivation is going to be. They're doing it for their family. So I have no issue with that. And I have no issue with Josh because sure, can he be a bit emotional? Yes, but I think all that you're really seeing with that is the one thing you can't question is that Josh cares. Josh cares about everything. He cares about his friends. He cares about how he's doing in the game. And he's actually there because he loves doing this and he loves the people that he's with and not someone who's there just to boost their social media following, which you could make that accusation against quite a number of challenge.
Oh, guys. You absolutely can. So I like that motivation. Like, even if it's just for the cameras, I don't like Josh is the type of person where I don't buy that is motivation just for the cameras. Like, I think you also hit the nail on the head. It's like he genuinely likes these people that he plays these games with. And you have the added benefit of you're getting a paycheck, you're getting potentially prize money that can go towards things you care about. So, like, why are we going to punish him for it when, like, the next scene is Chanel, who, while she has her own motivations, the very first thing she says to Corey is, I'm playing this for my family, to take care of my family. So you can't, like, be bashing Josh here and then be like, oh, yeah, praise Chanel here because she's also fighting for her family. But her motivations I actually do like. On the personal side of like, Survivor was her like goal. She gets on Survivor and she feels she's a failure. She has imposter syndrome. She lost her confidence because like she didn't play how she expected to. She didn't get the exposure that she expected to. So this is like her opportunity of redeeming herself and regaining the confidence that she needs in herself. Which by the end of that scene, I'm like, oh, so she is going to elimination.
Yeah, I thought it was good for Chanel because fair or unfair, and it probably was unfair. Chanel was a popular pick in Survivor 42 preseason.
Very popular.
She was a very popular pick. So because of that, she had these expectations coming in. And when you have those expectations coming in that she had, what she did, unfortunately for her, was a bit of a flame out. So it makes sense. She was popular coming in. People were down on her. So this is her redemption story.
Yeah. And I have no problem with a redemption story. Like, she's also someone who's been getting a lot of hate on social media because she's playing the social game, but it's like not being translated into the edit how like good of a job she's done as a rookie of ingraining herself into all these alliances, having the perception of being strong where maybe she hasn't won, but she's been competent in most competitions. So I like her story. We'll get to it at the very end of this podcast. Like, I'm a big fan of pretty much everyone who got to the end. Whether or not I bash on them during episodes or not here, like I'm a big fan of all of them. I don't think we'll have bad winners.
Well, what Chanel's going through is what we see pretty much everyone in the challenge go through from the fan base because, all the fans, we love the show, but sometimes, maybe it's just a small minority out there. It's hypocritical because when you play, depending upon if you like the person or not, it's, well, she didn't go into elimination. She's playing a great social game. But on the flip side, it's, well, she's not proven. And if it's someone that you don't like, it's just like, well, they're going into elimination all the time because they don't have a good social game. So that's on them. So really, however you look at it, you can spin it in your own way.
Right. Like, is anyone saying that about Corey this season?
No.
I think Corey's the only person going to this final who didn't touch the sand this season.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
But people like
the social
Corey.
Game.
Yeah.
Boom. Yes, and yes, he's proven himself in past seasons, but like new season, new time. Let's be real. But this is what leads us straight into the daily because like the first like 10 minutes of this episode sort of like just blow by because it's all about the meat of post the daily. So the daily, Michaela is already shitting herself, for lack of a better term, because she sees hot air balloons, she sees balance beams, and she sees ladders to Jesus, and she knows she's gonna hate all of this, which is funny because Bananas hits it so hard. Like, that usually cripples people. Like, makes them perform worse, makes them quit. Like, we've seen Darrell, like, literally just say, no, I'm not competing, just put me in elimination, I'm not doing hikes. Like, Michaela's genuinely fearful of this, still does it, and wins. Like,
she does it and wins, and you think about it, while most people, we see time and time again on the dailies, they want to go last, so they want to go later because it allows you to watch other people. I give her more kudos because she was the last one to go. So for the anxiety is building because all you can do is think about it and watch others go. So I think that honestly, it should have been something that wasn't a benefit to her. Now, maybe she was able to see something that helped her, but clearly she killed it.
Yeah, right on. So the daily is burst your bubble, and it's a timed event where you start on the ground, race up a 40-foot rope ladder, and then one at a time, you race across the balance beam to the other hot air balloon, and the fastest man and woman make the final, punch their ticket for TJ's final, but this is also going to be a double elimination for that, which, don't give me the canned confessionals going like, oh my God, it's a double elimination. Yeah, it's the last daily. You're going to have an uneven amount of men and women going like, come on, don't try to get us to believe that they were shocked by that. But straightforward, very straightforward comp. I thought originally this was Fessel's to lose because
So did Fessel.
well, as he should though. Like I don't know if you saw my tweet a couple days ago when I was rewatching the challenge. This in regards to his elimination and how he always seems to get the physical eliminations and gets roasted for it. I put out a tweet that I was like, people do seem to forget that he is a well-rounded challenger. Like he does good at mental competitions. He does well running. He does well with physical. He does well with balance. Like he does do dailies and eliminations very well. So it's not like an unfair thing of he just happens to get the physical eliminations.
But people don't like Fessel. So once again, you pick the narrative that you like to support your story.
Well, all I know is Fessel liked my tweet, so he supported what I said.
There you go.
But no, yeah, like he seemed to really race through it all. Like maybe a little slower on the balance beam, but like when you're 6'5", I think that's probably a little hard up there. I did feel like for the most part, so we get through the first two heats. The guys get up there first. They get no one falls. Like everyone does complete this. But I thought it was weird that like Josh gets up there. Chanel beats him up there. Chanel goes first, and we get the confessionals from Josh going like, "Well, I just need to be fast. I can't fall, or else I've lost." I'm like, the other two guys went first. Like that's part of your time.
Yeah.
Like
so
really, you already lost.
Yeah, there is technically no like last place loser. Like that would be more of the thought process of if it was last in automatically going in. At this point, you'd think Josh is in a really good state. He has no chance of going in unless
you would think.
Yeah.
Right. Like Josh and Chanel heading into this episode had played very good social games. Like Josh a little better because he had less balls go into the hopper. He was only nominated for elimination once, which was last episode. But he's played a near flawless social game up to that point. And it was maybe some of its help from his veteran people like Bananas and Tori and Fessel and Corey, like backing him up. But he also got all the rookies to not look at him either. So he does something right in this game.
Yeah, I mean, he caught balls. What was it? That was episode 3 when they were trying to get Bananas out, and it was Paulie who went in. But outside of that, he went pretty much unscathed until Chris put him up last week as the main nomination.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like so we do get the Chris one. I thought it was a little funny edit there where like Chris does dominate, but then they like have to give you that chance of like, oh, maybe it's not him with the Fessel confessional. Like, well, we did see him sort of goof up in the ladder, and we see Chris making some great noises, you could say, on that ladder.
They were something. My personal favorite was Fessel just walking around and going to Bananas. Like, I was definitely faster than that, right? Like, yeah, of course I was.
Yeah, obviously. Well, I would be nervous too about it because, like, I think Fessel realizes it's like in this type of competition, it's me or Chris at this point winning. So I need to get that belief from other people that I did do better than him. Because as long as I win, we can get Chris in elimination. I don't care that Bananas is going in. I wanted him out all game, but you still get like your desired result.
Mm-hmm. Well, and at that point, it also gives Fessel the way of kind of being able to keep his hands clean because he can say, I put up Chris, and he's not putting the ball on Bananas because the two winners don't throw balls into the hopper. So he can say, well, I didn't do anything. So for him, he gets his hands the perfect storm. Yeah.
Yeah. I do wonder if we would have had a rebound of Josh going back to Fessel, being like, I said it last round. I want Chris. Just put me in straight up. Put all my name all in the hopper. I want to be the one who takes him out. That would have been a fun little bit to see. But we don't get that because Chris does win and Michaela wins for this daily. They both punched their tickets. Michaela an obvious standout this season, especially when we get to this individual phase. I won the most dailies. She won her elimination against Tiffany. Like she more than redeemed herself from Spies, Lies, and Allies.
Absolutely. And I got to say, looking at the way that it's going, this is probably the first time this season where I know you and I both had the same winner prediction on the female side, but this is the first time where Michaela winning again and getting more of that spotlight. I was like, is Desi not going to win? Like, is she not the favorite anymore? Because Michaela's killing it. Now, it was preseason pick. I'm not going to switch from it, but I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if Michaela comes out on top of this game.
No, I wouldn't be shocked either if Michaela won. Like, I'm still going to roll with Desi because we've also seen time and time again with challenge history, just because you aren't in the focal point of the episodes doesn't mean that you don't win the final. Pretty much once you get to the final, the edit doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the most part. Like, and tends to be for the women in recent memory, less so than for the guys. But we'll get there at the end. But they both win. It's going to be a double elimination. We get back to the house, and immediately we just see Fessel going, Josh, we need to put Bananas in. Like, can we just get this dude who has won, like, basically every time he gets to the final, he wins. Can we get him out? Can we guarantee that we have a new challenge champion from the guys' side? And Josh is torn. But like mainly, and the main part being torn is they all are aware that the last elimination typically is physical. So Fetzel's immediately thinking this is going to be a hall brawl. This is going to be a pole wrestle, something physical.
Yeah, and looking at it, I mean, Bananas has pulled off some upsets before, but in a straight physical elimination, all the guys there that he's with, they're just bigger than him. And so you'd think no matter who he would go up against, now for here, it's obviously Fessel, that he's at a great disadvantage, just size alone, if it is the hall brawl, the pole wrestle, balls in, anything like that.
Right. And like Fessel's thing is like sort of twofold. He wants Bananas out so that he has a better chance of winning, but he also doesn't want to go against Josh, who is his legit boy, and Corey, who are now, I guess, boys again after their mini beef for like a half a season.
And it doesn't come up, but you can't tell me that part of it is Fessel doesn't want Bananas simply because Bananas is who sent him home on Ride or Dies.
True.
That's definitely got to be part of it.
Yeah, I didn't get to have a hall brawl against him. We got the rope ladder thing, which is totally unfair for me being big and tall, which you can make a case for, but there's no such thing as fair in love, war, and the challenge. But yeah, like I can see that. And also for the somewhat athletic merch, he's been holding a grudge for that.
Got to make his money.
He's just trying in these times.
But I do love this, side note, going slightly back to House of Villains. I know Jonny Fairplay, our boy, will be releasing the shirt, but Jessica was wearing it at the viewing party. It was two favorite Johnnies. It was like Johnny and Johnny, the two favorite Johnnies of reality TV. So that's a pretty cool shirt. I'd look out for that.
Okay. You can find that at johnnyfairplay.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get all the shirts that he may or may not wear on House of Villains. But this gets us to nominations. And this is the part of the episode now where we're seeing where all these deals sort of come back to bite people that have been made throughout the season. Because Michaela says she would prefer to do Cassidy because she made a pact with Tori that if Tori were to have won, Tori wouldn't have said Michaela's name, and she's not inclined to go back on her word.
And this is, people may bash it being like, well, why won't you just throw in Tori? Now, this was smart by Michaela. This is showing the next evolution in her game. Seeing at this point, it's pretty much has anyone won on the female side outside of Michaela or Tori? I think it's just been those two.
Desi.
Sorry, Desi. You're right. Desi did win one, but you'd think so far it's pretty. And she's safe with Desi. She knows that, and the only other person that could possibly win would be Tori. So you can bash it, but I think it was a great move by Michaela.
And there's always a case that can be made too of like, it seems that end of the day, Michaela, Desi, and Chanel wanted to run the final together. Whatever you may think about that in terms of the competitor side of it, they were in an alliance all game. They want to get to the end together. So the best chance you have of ensuring that they all go in is by putting Cassidy in, who they deem the weakest. Because if you put Tori in, more likely than not, either Cassie's just going to go in anyway, or one of your allies are going in. At least by putting Cassidy in straight up, maybe you can get a vote onto Tori and get Tori in that way. But it's sort of like in that mindset. Michaela's not afraid of people. So, like, she's not going to, at this point in the game, I feel like she's just looking at, like, I'm just going to run it out. I'm just going to run it out. I've been doing well. We'll see who comes up on top. I like my chances.
I mean, as she should. But yeah, here's where everyone has these deals that you need to start, maybe you need to go back on, but here's Josh's big blunder.
So we'll fast forward. Essentially, Chris just ultimately decides to pick Fessel. It was always what he was going to do. He knew Bananas would just get votes anyway, so might as well just throw the big boy in who kept betraying his word to him. So Fessel and Cassie are the noms, and we get a conversation with Josh and Bananas. And Josh is obviously torn because everyone's pulling him. Essentially, everybody except Tori and Bananas are telling him to put Bananas down as the vote. But he has a stronger relationship with Bananas than Corey. So he's a little stressed about it. Bananas is sort of like confused by it in terms of the edit of like, we've been rocking with each other outside of game. We hang out a lot. We've been helping you a lot.
Froze. Shit.
Are you back?
Yeah, now I'm back.
Okay. But essentially, Bananas like, I don't see what the issue is. Yes, Fessel's your boy, but what do you owe Corey? You don't owe Corey anything over Fessel, who's your best friend, and me and you, who have bonded for seasons and off the show. So you shouldn't be putting my name down. And Josh essentially says, on the word of my dead grandfather, essentially, I will not put your name in the hopper.
Which that one you can absolutely blame Josh for, because there was there's no reason to bring that in. There's no reason to say that to Bananas, especially if he is going to go back and talk to Fessel. Have that conversation first.
Yeah. It's like, I feel that was like a big slip on Josh, because I think at the time of him saying that, he meant it.
Mm-hmm.
At that exact moment in time, he meant it. He wasn't going to go against that word. He wasn't going to go against Bananas. He was more inclined to put his own name into the hopper than Bananas at that point. But I think like the more that you wait, I don't know how long of time there was between the end of the daily and when you did, or from nominations to the secret vote. And it's very possible he just kept getting torn within his own head of, do I still play loyal? And by playing loyal, I have a lesser chance of winning, or do I once again make a selfish move like I did with Wes and try to remove someone that for sure would beat me at a final?
Well, and which doesn't help the thing is with his conversation with Fessel essentially says, if you don't vote Bananas, we're no longer friends, which dick move on his part, but also I'm sure that was strategic, being, hey, I know how emotional Josh is. I know how much our friendship means to it. I'm going to push all in right here because I think I can get him to cave.
Right. And ultimately, I feel like Fessel's like, look, man, like, we told each other we were going to ride this out together. Do what you want to do. I think I sort of do side with Fessel here because like he's already knows he's in, and when you have Josh like so torn about who to put in and it's not himself, like ultimately Fessel's like, look, man, you have an option between two people. I told you what I would prefer. You're not going to change my mind about it. Do what you got to do. Like, there's no point of having this discussion anymore. Just let me be.
Because at this point, you'd think, all right, like they're both in a weird spot where you'd say Fessel, his number one is Josh, number two is Corey, where Josh is probably Fessel's number one, Bananas is number two. And so it's that slight deviation right there where, of course, if it's physical, Fessel feels confident, hey, I'll beat Bananas, no problem. But we've seen it before. He knows he's potentially going home if it's Corey, because Corey is a strong dude, beat him in the oil challenge just 2 weeks ago. And while Fessel is big and dominant, he hasn't cakewalked and blown over people in Hall Brawl, where Corey can definitely put up that fight.
Right. Yeah. Like they both got the dog in them. And no matter what you think about Bananas, end of the day, if you got height and over 40 pounds on him, like you have the advantage. Like,
100%.
Take the easier path. And that's not something to knock someone for wanting the easier path.
And Bananas is 40. Like we've seen him do well in so many different things. And yes, he has won some physical eliminations, but not against someone that big.
No, the closest you would have is his partner elimination with Tyler against Adam and CT.
Yeah, the only other physical one I was going to say would have been he beat Dunbar in the Ruins, which Dunbar was bigger than him, but Dunbar was also Dunbar.
And that was also season 18.
Yes, quite a long time ago.
Have the best I think they said like he has one of the best elimination records for last elimination before final. I want to say he's 6-2 in the last elimination. But if it's a Hall Brawl, like you can't really prepare yourself for that other than be ready to get hit by a truck. But anyway, we go back to Bananas, and Bananas like, end of the day, myself, Josh, and Tori have been working together from day zero. Like we've been working each other, we've been aligned. We should all understand what we need to do. So on one side, you have Josh, who is a mess, trying to figure out what he needs to do for his own game and what it means for his relationships. On the other hand, you have Tori, who once again has made deals with essentially every single person in the game, and now she's like, well, I guess I'm putting a vote on Josh.
It's one thing that I'll actually give. I know there's a lot of Tori fatigue, Tori hate out there. Look at what she did post going into that elimination. It was with John A early in the season. She hasn't gone in, and she hasn't had this vacation alliance. She's had a few vets. So I'll actually give her a lot of social credit here, because in a game where she found herself in a rough spot, sure, she had to make deals with everyone, but she hasn't seen another elimination, and she got a free pass to the finals again.
Yep. Ultimately, that Johnny elimination did exactly what she wanted it to do. She instilled into people that she is a fierce competitor, will not treat you lightly, even if you're a friend outside of this, and sort of like instilled some fear in that of like, we don't want to go against her. Like you had an alliance in Michaela, Desi, and Chanel where they were constantly getting mad at Michaela for wanting to try to put Tori in because they realized, well, we would have to go against that. We just saw what she did to John A. We don't want that business. We don't want that work. Like, please leave it. And like they became more inclined to go into the protect the strong in order to protect yourself strategy, which, looking back now, has paid off for them. Will it pay off with getting them to win at the end? We don't know yet. but they have a 3 and 4 chance of beating Tori in the final.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, plus just looking at it, it was right for them because as soon as someone takes that first shot of, well, let's get rid of people that, are better than me in the final. Even if Tori does go, say they successfully get her out, but that's the mindset of the house, they're the next ones that are going in, potentially.
Right. Yeah. And it's a choice. Like, you love it or hate it. Like, we've had our gripes about it throughout the season. It worked out for them. But the secret vote happens. And like, Cassidy's sort of like, I'm gonna put in Chanel because that's my best bet, but like, I don't care who comes down there. I'm gonna obviously give it my all because this is between me and potentially $250,000. So I'll do what I need to do to get where I need to go. She gets her way. Ultimately,
she does get her way.
She gets a majority of votes on Chanel. And then we see Josh. And Josh is, again, breaking down.
A wreck.
But ultimately does put Bananas' name in. But hey, at least he didn't do what he did to Wes and let him wait till after he was eliminated to let him know. He leaves. He's crying. He sits right across from Bananas, and he has that look on his face that Bananas knows. Bananas knows what he just did. But he's I need to hear you verbally say this because I'm sort of in disbelief right now.
Well, and we've seen that Josh obviously is closer with Bananas than Wes. So even if Josh's plan was, hey, I'm not going to tell Bananas, emotionally, I don't think he would have been able to do that even if that was his plan. Just because you look at him and it looked like as soon as he saw Bananas, he started to break down.
And I think ultimately that's the price you pay for the social games that you play. Like, it was easier to do it to Wes. Yes, is Josh calling Wes his friend? Sure. How much are Wes and Josh hanging out outside the game?
My guess would be none.
Yeah, that would be my guess too. How much have we seen even post this season? So we know they're not on bad terms. Josh hanging out with Bananas and Tori. They're doing their Rumble boxing in Florida together. They are fine. But that shows the difference in relationship. And I don't think he could bear having a friend like that and sitting across from them and not letting them know ahead of time, even though it's supposed to be a secret vote, that I did put your name in. I just feel like Josh's emotions sort of got the best of him there, where he wasn't able to explain. And Bananas wasn't going to take the explanation anyway. Rightly so, he's going to be pissed off. But I feel like you can gain a little more from it, where Josh is I did what I felt I needed to do to give myself a better chance at the final. I'm sorry. But instead, he's just apologizing for doing it. And you're sort of just well, what the hell, man?
You can't I've done keep so saying much work sorry.
For you.
Yeah, you can't keep saying sorry over and over again, because at that point, it's just you did it. You can't take it back. You can say, hey, I'm sorry. It's what I had to do. But like you said, it didn't matter what he said. Bananas wasn't going to accept it. He was going to be rightfully pissed off. And I feel like if at that point, if you're just constantly apologizing over and over again, if you're Bananas, which I hear that, it's just going to piss him off even more, being Josh, we talked about this. You swore on your dead grandfather. At this point, shut the fuck up. I don't care. I need to, mentally prepare to go in. But it leads it to, I think, my favorite scene, which is where Tori is comforting him and just completely glosses over the fact, being hey, I voted for you, but, I love you, Josh. It's okay.
Well, I don't even think Josh minds that Tori put his name in, because he gets this, the social side of it. While they are good, he knew Tori and Bananas were tight. So obviously, with her being a hard choice, he was in a hard choice. He can't really be mad at her when he just did something similar. But then Bananas comes walk down, be like, Josh, give it up. Tori, what the hell? Why are you both not doing what we agreed we were going to do? Well, I had a deal. Who cares about a deal? We're about to go into the final.
Oh, and to, once again, all the criticism that's out there, people bashing Bananas, being like, well, we've seen him do this over and over again. It's like, well, we
Look
haven't
what
seen
he
him
did
do,
to Paula on the island.
yeah,
Like,
which we haven't seen him do it recently, but has he done it in the past? Sure. But you also think about it, he never swore on a family member, dead or
or at least
alive,
on
that
TV.
yeah, at least on TV, sure, we will say that. And the other thing about it is we've talked about it over and over again that Bananas is almost like an infield producer out there. Like he's helping make the show. And sure, he is rightfully pissed off. And so he knows, hey, I'm going to make sure I make a moment out of this. And B, when you see you have someone like Josh that's that emotional, you just keep pushing that button to make them feel worse and worse. Is it right or wrong? Yeah, that's for you to decide. It's the right thing to do in a competitive aspect.
Yeah, and like I'm sure they'll be talking it out again now that it's aired. But like I don't expect to see like much animosity there. We also are seeing that online. It looks like Josh is saying he wants to take another break from the show. Which, hey, protect your peace, man. Protect your peace. Come back when you want to. Come back stronger, mentally, physically. You've been doing like he's actually been doing the work. Like I am not of the people who are like, I don't need to see Josh ever again. Like, I love having Josh on the show. So I will wait for his return. But this gets us to the elimination. But
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say it's good for the show and the fact, and I think it's gonna sorry, getting tongue tied here. It shows a level of growth from Bananas' side of view because we've seen him in the past being like, you screw me in the game, you're dead to me. I never want to talk to you again. And it's something where now he can differentiate the two of being like, hey, Josh is still my friend, but on the chance that they are on another season together, yes, Josh, you're my friend. You're no longer that high in my pecking order because you screwed me over. Yeah, we'll be friends, but I'm more likely you took the shot at me. So when it comes back around, I don't feel the need to protect you.
Right. And ultimately, we'll see what happens. Because, like him or not, I don't think a lot of people view Josh as a threat in terms of if we go down to elimination, if we have to compete in a daily, who's going to come out on top? You're going to probably pick the other person before you pick Josh. So we'll see what happens in the future.
It's impressive, like 1 in 5, 1 in 6 elimination
1 in 6 after last night, or not last, well, Thursday. After this episode, he's 1 in 6 in elimination, among the worst in challenge history through 5 seasons.
Hey, he is better than Tyree, and that's
he is.
About
there's two others. There's 2 other people there. I forget the other names, but
Danny Jameson.
I'm sure.
Because
I'm sure he is.
I don't think Danny's ever won an elimination, despite what the legend may tell you.
Despite what the legend may tell you.
It's my favorite Reddit post of all time. If you ever want a good laugh and you love Danny Jameson, just Google like Danny Jameson legend, and someone goes on this long Reddit spree which is all clearly a joke of why Danny Jameson is the greatest challenger of all time, and it's worth a read.
God damn it. Didn't think we were going to get Danny J call out in this episode. But this gets us to elimination.
Why we're experts.
We are experts. This gets us to our elimination. We go for the hopper. For the girls, it's 2 votes on Tori, 1 vote on Desi, 5 on Chanel. For the guys, it's 1 on Corey, 2 on Josh, and 5 on Bananas. And for the most part this season, we have seen the majority one win out. But we have seen a few times where a minority vote goes in. And as we all know, only takes 1 ball to pop out the hopper for you to go in. So Chanel does get pulled. So it's going to be Cassie versus Chanel. But then we see a Josh ball pop out. And it's best friends going at it in what we were hoping to be a very thrilling hall brawl. But as Chanel points out, like she's a little nervous because it's not just a hall brawl, but there is a puzzle at the end of the hall, and she's not good at puzzles. And I'm like, oh God damn it, man. Like, who, this isn't TJ's elimination. Who from CBS put this together? Because fuck you.
Okay, and we'll get to, I have all my thoughts on the puzzle, but also going from, well, first you're starting with this pad, but once you make initial contact, you can drop the pad. But how much can you really drop the pad when it takes up, the entire length of the hall and is pretty big? So from start to finish, from starting with the pad to then adding the puzzle at the end, this was absolute horseshit.
Oh no, I hated it. Like, and I'm not gonna take the people that go like, they obviously set this up so that Bananas would have a chance in the hall brawl. I'm like, come on.
Well, those people think that the hopper was rigged and that his name was really pulled too. So
yeah, true. Grow up, people. Grow up.
But this was bad, but what did make me laugh is they're coming in and they're like, oh, it is hall brawl, and so as they've done a good job all season, they're showing clips from past seasons. Don't start with Enzo and Leo. If we're going with great hall brawls, don't start there. Don't even show it.
He has something cooking. You just gotta wait. You gotta wait for it. Enzo coming.
Some point.
I hated the design of it. I hated like the random neon green and pink like splashes along it. It made no sense. The only way you could convince me that they had to do the shields was a liability thing on CBS's side from seeing past hall brawls being like, we don't want to see someone actually get injured in this hall brawl, so have that for what would be the most critical hit of the hall brawl so that we don't have someone concussed or CTE and sue us and whatnot. I don't know. But
it also takes out, like with that, you're pretty much forced to just run full speed. And this, it benefits the bigger person, someone like Fessel, because where we've seen upsets in the past has been where the other person has gotten lower and drove their legs. And by having the pad there, I get what they were doing for protection wise, but all that you're doing there is you're giving the bigger person even more of an advantage to get a push.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And I do love when we have the guys go, you hear the flashback quote from earlier in the episode in Josh's head from Fessel, like, you either have to go low or you have to jump up. And Josh does neither.
Well,
but you can't with the shield.
You can't with the shield, and even if you haven't, we haven't seen Josh perform the best in, as you said, eliminations or just any type of pressure situations. That's not his forte.
But he held his own. He held his own there. Like, he didn't just go straight down, especially once they like dropped the shield. Like, he still grappled with Fessel. Like, he wasn't just giving an easy out. Like, he wasn't manhandled.
The other thing with the puzzle is that at a certain point, it was beneficial to both of them to stop the fight and more go past each other, because it wasn't about pushing the person out of the hall, which once again is stupid.
And also only being one and done because a puzzle is involved. It's like you took the gas out of the hall brawl, and it was just a guessing game ultimately. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. It was, everything about it was dumb. Like, how could you not see that it's a certain point? Why would you? There's a certain range of how many boxes there could be. So at a certain point, why would you go back and keep trying to count it each time? Everyone clicked onto it very quickly that you were way more beneficial to run back, touch your stand, and go back and guess another number and just hope that you can get it faster than the other one. Which
and like
made it more about luck. Once again, stupid elimination.
Yeah, and like credit to Fessel for being the first between him and Josh to just really do that. Like, okay, let me eyeball it. Okay, I'm just gonna keep saying a number. Go one higher. Go one higher. Go one higher until I get it right. The girls seem to spend a little more time like double checking and actually reviewing the puzzle. But we see Chanel win, and we see yeah, we see Fessel win. It was crushing for me for Cassie because she was just one number off from winning.
I thought
And
she had it. I thought she was going to get it.
I thought so too, but like part of the edit was like convincing me that Chanel was winning because the whole thing was I need to win an elimination or a daily so that I can have some sense of momentum and confidence heading into a final where we are really just getting I just need to survive from Cassidy. So Cassidy leads with a 3-1 record in elimination in her rookie season. I think she can do better on the second time round with getting more of the strategy side because I have seen her in like some like meeting with people. You see a lot of people posting about Cassie that played with her saying how much they loved her. So I think a second time round she can still do better and make that extra push to get her to a final.
I'm not saying that she's definitely going to win, but if she's able to keep coming back and has the interest to keep coming back, if saying that, okay, at some point in time, Cassidy is going to be a challenge champion, it wouldn't surprise me.
Right. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised and I would be rooting for it. So I know at the beginning of the season, some people were like hesitant of like, what's Cassie going to do in this type of setting? She's just going to get dog walked. I think she proved people wrong, and I'm happy for her for that. For Josh, farthest he ever got in a challenge season, you obviously seen the work he did physically on himself. He is very good at that social political game until the end, when all those you can only cut one person at the end, but you're cutting someone that you made a lot of time and investment in. I felt for him. But as Banana says, like it was the most delicious karma, poetic justice I've ever had. Obviously hyperbole, but it was sort of poetic justice. Like all you had to do was put Corey's name down, and maybe it was Corey's name that pops up instead of you.
Yeah, it's quite possible. And so I guess my question for you is with Josh moving forward, like you said, I've seen the articles that he wants to take a break. When he does come back, we both assume that he'll be back at some point and welcome him back. Do you think at some point the political game, do you think he can continue to be like a great political player in this game? Or do you see it maybe hindering him that you've seen his loyalty to a few people that you're coming in and be like, I may like Josh, but I know I'm not in his top 2 or 3. So I got to get rid of him because he is going to try to do whatever he can to keep them.
Well, part of what helps him is he hasn't gone to a final. He hasn't done like great in eliminations. He hasn't won a lot of daily competitions. Like, so even if like he sort of gets the benefit of still being great at the social political game, despite people knowing he does that off-season work, because there aren't that many people that are like scared of him if they have to go in. And a lot of the girls love Josh because he's a good guy. Mm-hmm. And so like it's good energy around the house for them. And from the guy's side, when you add the masculinity of it all, of like being more macho and who's the strongest and who's the most intense, like they're not going to look at Josh.
Yeah, no, that's all.
And that will keep working for him until people want to make a statement. Like if you have a season like this one where all the strong girls came together and they're like, we're just going to keep the strong people safe, then that's like a situation where Josh could falter if you start trickling in. Like, well, look what he keeps doing to these people that he calls his best friends. He stabs them in the back. He might have a season or 2 stretch where he goes out early because people are like, we just don't want to have to deal with this. And if we let him stay in too long, he'll be socially ingrained and impossible to get out.
Yeah, the other thing that I could also see is that, and maybe Fessel has these great, amazing bonds with the rest of the cast, but from everything that we've heard, he describes himself as an introvert, but I've heard on other podcasts and interviews and stuff like that, that Fessel's thing is that once you're in a group of, say, 4 or 5 people, he just kind of not shuts down, but he doesn't say much. He stays real quiet, and he's a lot more comfortable with the smaller group settings, which makes sense. It's where you can have more of a connection. But I could also see, hey, we just don't want to have to worry about Fessel all season the way that he keeps kind of making it to the finals, especially if he can ever actually win one of these.
Right.
That Josh is really the person who carries him socially. So let's go take Josh out. That way Fessel has no legs socially in this game.
Right. And like that's the counterpoint of like Josh lasts long in the game because of his social game. Fessel lasts long in the game because people don't realistically think he's going to lose an elimination and he's more likely to win dailies. So he sort of gets to bank on that and then just ride off of his raw talent to get to these finals. Like as Corey says, like on seasons where him and Fessel have been on the same season together, they both make it to the final. Have either of them won? No, but we will see. We'll see with this one. It's an interesting point to have. Like, does he get crippled, or do all the girls still like we're gonna keep him around because he's a strong guy who's likely to win? And then what guys are gonna come around and say like, put him in, and I'm willing to go in and take him out?
Yeah, no, that's true. He has that, especially since we're getting further and further away from the full team seasons, where he would have been much more of a target in, say, some of the early seasons where it was this team lost, we get to throw two of their own team in against each other.
Right.
Or this team lost, we get to say one person that's in, and then the other, we get to see what the elimination is before we make our vote.
Right. But with that, we're now at the finale. Next week will be the final. The week after that, season 39 starts. So we have 4 guys, 4 girls left. I know we had our preseason picks on the field. If you had to blindly guess right now, based off of everything we have seen, who is your winner from the guys and the girls?
The girls, I think, is easier for the simple fact that my, early season prediction was Desi, and I'm not going to go off of that. I still believe that she's going to win, and I think we're going to see something more from her in this final, especially given how USA 1 went. So I'm going to stick with her. If we're talking about for the guys, we've talked about this in the past few weeks. It's setting up that it's either a Chris or Corey win. I want it to be Corey for the fact that it would be a good story for him. I think this is his best chance where he can potentially win. But I think the story's there for Chris.
I agree. I think we're going to finish the Challenge USA Season 2, and by the end of that, all 4 winners of the Challenge USA spinoff will have come from Survivor. And I believe Chris is going to be our winner. I'm still going to hold on to Desi, but I would not be shocked if Michaela won.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, if Michaela doesn't win, they are at least hyping her up and putting her in a light where they know, oh, she's on retainer. Like next season, whether it's MTV, whether it's CBS, she's getting a phone call. No questions asked.
What I would be interested in seeing is if we're going to have these 4 4 on each side, ride it out the entire way, which I hope they do, because in an hour episode and for a final, that's not enough time to do some type of elimination and then the rest of the final. But so I hope that they don't do it, but I'd be interested to see what happens if there is some type of midway checkpoint, like we lose one of each and it's just the final 3. But I mean, It also goes down to it is I'm curious to see what the format is. How much of it is pairs? How much of it is individual? Are we going off of your total time, or are we going off of what we saw in USA 1 where each stage it's a point value? So I'm really curious to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, like my hope it would be more like the global championships where it's just like
Agreed.
Whoever finishes first is the winner.
As it should be.
Maybe there's stuff in between that like helps get you an edge later on, like as a typical challenge final should always be. I'm excited to see it. Like there's definitely there's no outcome really where I would leave it being surprised that this person won.
No, and I believe we did say we saw in the preview that it's a 2-day final. So this screams classic final. You have, it's a lot of running with all these checkpoints at the end of day one. No matter what the time difference is there's some type of, head start for finishing earlier in the day. And then day two is strictly first across the line wins. I feel that's exactly how it should be.
But we will find out next week, and we will be covering it next week. Back at our normal time slot of Fridays in the afternoon, you'll find Dan and myself back here talking about the winners of the Challenge USA Season 2 and looking ahead to see what we're looking forward to for Season 39, the battle for a new champion. If that's the wrong name, I truly don't care. But we will, as always, be here throughout the week covering Survivor after the episode with with myself, Dan, and Matt Bischoff. And when he has time, Johnny will be with Wayne and Karen and whoever else that can show up to do a recap of the Survivor episode. We'll have Talk Villain to Me for Jonny Fairplay's podcast for House of Villains and our challenge coverage. And the best way to support us is to become a patron at realitypatron.com. That's where you can find our other exclusive content, such as Johnny and Matt's Q&A and their watch-along of Australian Survivor. They are currently on Brains versus Brawn, an amazing Australian Survivor season. So become a patron at realitypatron.com. As well as all of the watch parties for Survivor and for House of Villains, you can find at survivortix.com and villaintix.com. Go and enjoy their amazing experiences. They're very intimate, and you really get to know the people behind the show.
Absolutely. This is what a time. We have so much reality TV going on. And I'd also say that if you're thinking about joining the Patreon, now would be the perfect time to do it, simply for the fact because House of Villains is going on. And if you listen to the free podcast, Talk Villain to Me, you will get a lot of, stuff behind the scenes and things that we didn't see. But on the Q&A, I can guarantee you that you are going to hear some more stuff that we didn't see and things that Johnny necessarily can't say the most publicly about House of Villains. So now is the perfect time, like when you include that and everything else that is going on in reality TV right now. It's what a time for the Reality After Show podcast.
But yeah, until then, we'll be back next week. Have a good day, everyone, and we'll see you soon.
See y'all.
Bye.